Strike all of that.
All right.
Okay.
So struck.
All right. Our next victim, or excuse me, survivor, it does wish to remain anonymous. So I would ask at this time for any dissemination recording to be turned off.
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you. We are back on the record. All parties and defendant are present. Next.
Your Honor, the next two speakers, I think I misspoke earlier, they are actually our next speakers. They are sisters. They are going to come to the podium together and read their statements. They have asked that the media only disseminate their voice, so no identifying information, no video, no recording, audio only, no picture, no face, no pictures. Okay, we are identifying them as victim number 11 and victim number 136. Victim number 11 has provided me with a photograph to be given to the court. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here.
Good afternoon.
So who is who? Who is victim 11?
I am victim 11.
And you are victim 136?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Who's beginning?
I will.
Thank you.
When I was told I was able to speak today as a former patient and sexual assault victim of Larry Nassar while at MSU Sports Medicine Clinic, I had mixed feelings. How does one put into writing the roller coaster of emotions that swirl through your head at any given time in this process? Each of us has a story, each of us a family. But each one of us has something in common. Each one of us did not ask to be a victim, your victim. My story begins when I was in high school. I was referred to Larry by my primary physician. It was for a gymnastics injury to my lower back. I was also a dancer from a young age and a high school gymnast. I was told by my primary physician that Larry was the best. He was an expert in gymnastics injuries as the USA gymnastics team's doctor. My primary care physician was a runner, and he was a patient of Larry's at the Sports Medicine Clinic at MSU. My family bleeds green, with most of them, including extended family, having worked or gone to MSU. I was confident that I would be getting the best care that I could. After all, I believed in MSU, and I trusted MSU would only have the best doctors working for them in the safest conditions. When I met Larry at the MSU Sports Medicine Clinic, he was friendly, talkative, caring, and trusting. His room had photos of all the Olympic gymnasts he treated. He made you believe he wanted you to be pain-free and figure out the cause of your pain. All I wanted was to get back in my dance studio, back to gymnastics, and enjoy my high school senior year. I started to see Larry sometimes between the winter of 1998 and the spring of 1999. It was my senior year of high school. I was young and naive. I just wanted relief from my back spasms, which I had been dealing with for over a year at this point. At the first visit, they were all pretty much similar after the first visit. Appointments began with manipulations and deep tissue massages from my neck to my feet, and then he focused on my lower back, my hip, and my pelvic area. Without warning or explanation, he would insert his ungloved finger in me, or fingers. I lay on the table, waiting for it to be over. at times wishing someone would knock on the door or come in to disrupt the treatment, or so-called treatment, and the awkwardness in the room, or to validate that this was okay. The first time it happened, I was unsure what was really happening. I was in shock and embarrassed. I had never experienced anything similar to this before. When the treatment was over, he washed his hands and discussed the treatment plan for when I would need to return, and he hurried out. When I got up enough gumption to ask how this treatment would help my pain, Larry advised that this was a technique that he had learned and discussed with trainers and doctors around the world at meets and competitions, and that he had used it to help others. Who was I to question the treatments of a world-renowned doctor? I was putting my trust in my doctor and MSU. I saw Larry every couple of weeks until I went to college in the fall of 1999. Then he advised me to make appointments when I would be home from breaks, so I did so until about 2002. After all, I believed he was helping to heal me. Now I know that was not the case. I still have issues with my back and my hip. I wonder if I will ever fully recover from my physical injuries. Then in September of 2016, my life changed. I saw the Indianapolis Star news article, and as I began to read it, my head began to spin, and I felt nauseous. It was as if I was voicing my own experiences. It was so eerily similar, but I had never spoken to anyone in detail about my treatments. It was too embarrassing. Digesting what I had just read, I realized that I was one of his victims, and I became angry. The first thing I did was to contact MSU police to file a report. That process took several weeks. I never once imagined I would be in this position. The emotions were all encompassing. I was in shock that I too was a sexual assault victim. I hoped by filing my report that he would be stopped, and that no others would have to go through these feelings. As the months progressed and more information came out with regards to his charges and investigations, I was having trouble sleeping. I began to withdraw from my friends, my life, my family. I was angry, sad, disappointed that not only had Larry taken advantage of me, but so had MSU. I had put my trust in Larry as my doctor and MSU as his employer. Both those trusts have been shattered. And I am now relieved that he will be behind bars, and I hope that he will remain there for a long time to come. My hope is that the justice system will be able to prevent Larry from ever harming another girl again, and that Larry will get what he deserves for causing so much pain, not just to me, but to all victims. I hope that MSU finally realizes that they too need to be held responsible for enabling this monster to treat so many patients for so many years. Why wasn't any of these girls taken seriously when they were brave enough to report him? Was it because we were not boys or in a high-profile sport? I and so many of us may not have had to be a victim to a sexual predator disguised as a doctor. MSU enabled Larry by not having or following up on safeguards in place to protect us against his misconduct. Was there no one managing or overseeing the sports medicine clinic with policies and procedures? Do they not monitor their physicians? Why did the medical students and the nurses all conveniently leave when treatments began? I need MSU to be truthful, transparent, and to take responsibility. As I begin my journey to heal, I want the sleepless nights to stop, to be happy again, to enjoy my life, my family, my kids. Most of all, I need you, Larry, to stop entering my thoughts and my daily life. I want my future generations to have a better way to report sexual assault and to not feel the shame and the embarrassment that it is placed on them. That we, the victims, are heard, understand, and believed. I am hopeful. We did not ask to be victims. We will be strong and brave together because we are survivors.
Thank you. And you are here with your sister, and that journey to heal is now with your voice, and joined with you is your sister for that voice of change. You said you are no longer a victim. You are no longer a victim. You are a survivor with a loud voice, a voice that is taken seriously by this court. You are here not just to talk to defendant, let him know how you feel, you've done that, but to ask for change in the world. All of you are having that rippling effect, but also for sentencing. I take what you say and what your sister is about to say very seriously. All of the survivors have very similar statements and feelings, but also there are some differences, and I recognize what he did to you, and it will be reflected in my sentencing. Public speaking is so important. I thank you for being here. I know how difficult it is. Victim 136, sister.
Hello. This letter is an impact statement regarding the treatment of myself, who is a sexual assault victim of Dr. Larry Nassar and Michigan State University, of their disgraceful negligence. As I stated above, I am a previous patient of Dr. Nassar. I was a patient of Dr. Nassar's at MSU Sports Medicine office starting approximately around the year of 2000 to treat an unknown specific injury located in my right hip. At that time, I was a student. I was in my young 20s. Dr. Nassar was recommended to me as he was the most acknowledgeable and prominent physician for sports-related injuries. Michigan State University was also known as a reputable option for sports-related injury rehabilitation. Therefore, being a patient of Dr. Nassar at MSU Sports Medicine Clinic seemed like a wise and natural choice. At the time, I was searching for answers to alleviate my physical pain, preferably without surgery. I thoroughly believed that Dr. Nassar, with his reputation as a world-renowned sports physician, coupled with Michigan State University's reputation at the time for top care of osteopathic care, I was headed in a positive direction to receive the best care possible. My first visit with Dr. Nassar appeared normal. When I met him, he was charming and confident. He was friendly and jovial. He asked about my life as a dancer. He appeared to be interested in me and my life, and he was very supportive. He made me feel comfortable. He acted like he genuinely wanted to help me and be able to dance again. He was compassionate, so I decided to trust him. He assured me we would figure out what was wrong. I could see his Olympic pictures in the exam room. I can still see those today. He mentioned them and referenced them. He adjusted my back and my hip. It seemed like a normal visit, and we would soon get to the bottom of what was medically wrong. After the initial visit, I felt confident that he'd be able to help me finally figure out what was my pain and where it was coming from. That was only the beginning. In September of 2016, reports began to surface regarding Dr. Nassar's sexual assault. I could not believe that what I was seeing, because I was one of his patients. Articles explained the charges against him and described the treatments and sexual abuse. As the reports continued to surface, they resonated so deeply that I felt nauseous and had trouble sleeping. I started to recognize that I, too, am a sexual assault victim of Dr. Nassar and Michigan State University. I started having flashbacks of my care under his treatments. I have continuously felt disgust and shame and anger because I trusted him and he took advantage of me. Your Honor, for many years I blamed myself and I pushed it down. And I know no longer that's not the case.
Good.
Below is a flashback, an embarrassing memory, as it pains me to share it with you. Yet I feel that I need to share it to explain the inner turmoil that goes on when once realizing you are now a label of sexual abuse and a victim. Something I thought I'd never identify with.
At one of the visits, Dr. Nassar convinced me to try a new method. As I noted before, I was looking for a non-surgical treatment to alleviate the pain I was experiencing from my injury in my right hip. The pain was becoming constant and I needed relief. Dr. Nassar asked if I would consider a new treatment. I agreed. I was in pain. I wanted answers, and so I said yes. Before I could ask any questions, he started to adjust my hip, and he slid his fingers into my pants, and he penetrated me. I was shocked. I was not briefed that this was the method of treatment. There was an awkward silence. I started to question him, and he assured me that this was the new treatment, and that a few of these treatments would alleviate my pain. He did not talk, and there was an awkward stillness. I was frozen, trying to figure out how I ended up having a pelvic exam for hip pain. I was young, naive. I had not had relations with a man, yet he urged me to trust him. When he was finished, he slid out his hand, which did not have any gloves on, and he proceeded to wash his hands. It made me feel dirty. There was no nurse in the room. As I was left alone trying to figure out what happened. I left feeling pressured not to question his method of treatment. After all, this is the doctor whom I trusted. I was supposed to trust him. He urged me to trust him. He was the doctor, and I was the patient. Looking back, how was this treatment meant to help my pain? Reproductive organs are not located next to the hip socket. Every time I think of what happens, I feel sick to my stomach. I have vivid flashbacks, and I'm left feeling angry. I have grappled with this and have felt betrayed and confused. I agreed to his treatment, yes, but under the guise of his medical knowledge. His persuasive personality pressured me into thinking that this was a medically common practice procedure and that this was necessary for pain relief. He was the expert. He assaulted me under the cover of his medical professional status. This treatment never alleviated my pain. It just caused more psychological pain and shame. I share this with you for the following reasons. Foremost, that I'm angry that Dr. Nassar used me for his personal, devious intentions. He did not, in actuality, try to alleviate my pain. Why would a doctor do a gynecological pelvic exam to figure out hip joint socket pain? Instead, he assaulted me and covered it up in a conniving, manipulative way that made me feel as if this method was protocol. I trusted him, and I put my trust in his expertise. Vivid memories of this treatment continue to replay in my mind. It is something I cannot erase. In addition, after seeing Dr. Nassar, doctors did not believe me for years. One doctor thought I was imagining my pain. I continued to feel aggravated that it was constant and wouldn't go away. I once was an active and healthy young woman. Since this injury, I have had hip reconstruction surgery at the age of 25, I might add, and will need a hip replacement soon within the next 5 years. I have presently worn down the cartilage in my hip and have developed arthritis. I am not able to dance anymore, run, or simply move as easily as I once used to. My fitness activity is limited, and I continue to live with my pain on a daily basis. I'm constantly reminded of what I once was able to do, and I can no longer do. Dr. Nassar's medical choices did not find a valid diagnosis for my pain, and his choice to assault me led me to years of continued physical and psychological pain. I now recognize that. It was not until 2005 that I was able to get a clear and concise diagnosis after many trips to doctors' offices, x-rays, and chiropractic care. A competent surgeon ordered a simple procedure, and we had a diagnosis, something that could have been done under Dr. Nassar's care. I'm reminded of the physical pain and this pain daily in my life. It upsets me also that Michigan State did not have a nurse present in the room with a female patient. If there was a question of his misbehavior and when he was put on probation to speak, why didn't he have a nurse present? At most female checkups, doctors ask if a woman would like to have a nurse present. I find it uncalled for that a university that totes itself as a prominent healthcare provider would not have such a protocol in place to protect its patients and its doctors alike. Moreover, I am extremely angry at Michigan State University and the MSU Sports Medicine Department. Since the time of September 2016's new article, it has come to light that Michigan State University knew about Dr. Nassar's behavior from previous reported incidents. Michigan State did nothing to remove Dr. Nassar, even though they knew that he was a doctor with a questionable past. At the time I saw him as a patient, he had already had complaints about his behavior. Had I known that he had a history of sexual assault, I would not have put myself in a position to be treated by him. I hold Michigan State responsible for enabling Dr. Nassar's behavior, covering up what he did, and find it morally wrong that they have tried to ignore reports of misconduct. They knew about his questionable past. This is shameful negligence on the part of Michigan State University and the Sports Medicine Department, and as many other women, such as myself, were assaulted and pressured into believing that the method of treatment was normal. His treatment was not normal, and it should never have happened. We paid the price. I paid the price. Years of pain and mistrust of doctors to seek relief from physical pain, only to become a victim of sexual assault. Justice will not be attained until Dr. Nassar is sentenced to the highest extent of the law, as well as the people who enabled him and allowed him to continue practicing medicine. Instead of treating my pain effectively, Michigan State University enabled a sexual predator to examine and assault me. I close with the following thoughts. Trust is essential. I trusted Dr. Nassar, and he violated my trust. I also trusted Michigan State University to provide a clinically and psychologically safe doctor. I continue to feel the ramifications of this experience today. I'm adamant about voicing the need for nurses present when being examined. I distrust male doctors, and that's after having 5 children, 2 of whom passed away. I also feel disgust for Michigan State University as an alumna and as a patient. Michigan State has not taken responsibility for enabling a sexual predator from continuing to practice. I need Michigan State University to accept responsibility for their actions. I now know that I am unfortunately not the only one to have been assaulted by Dr. Nassar. Michigan State University should be held accountable, as generations of future young women will come into their sports medicine department and put their trust in safe doctors or whom they think are safe. I hope and pray that my beautiful daughters will never have to experience this type of abuse at the hands of a doctor that they trust. I seek justice for other women to hold universities, medical establishments, and those that practice medicine accountable. Misconduct that is covered up only breeds complacency. Complacency then, in turn, allows for situations that become ripe for misconduct. Please help make things right. Protect young women who will place their trust in professionals who they think are safe. Send a message of extreme consequence for the actions of negligence practiced by Dr. Nassar and the enablers at Michigan State University, because everyone deserves a doctor that they trust.
Thank you for those wonderful words. Ma'am, first and foremost, I'm sorry for the loss of your children.
Thank you.
I'm sure they're here with you now.
Oh.
No one should lose children.
Yeah, thanks.
But also, no one in a position of trust should violate children. You, your sister, any of the other victims. You are all survivors, and the importance of your voice, not just in asking me for justice. I will confer justice within the limits of the plea agreement. I know you all know about that.
I have one more thing to add.
Yes.
It wasn't until recently that I knew that we shared this experience with each other. And the cultural taboo and the shame of not talking about these issues, I think, suppressed it. And I just wish that it was open, and I thank you for this opportunity to bring it to light so that, as sisters, we shouldn't have experienced that and have this shared commonality, but no one should.
You're right, no one should, and there is that taboo, so much so that two sisters couldn't talk about it, didn't think about talking about it. That is heartbreaking, because you should be able to share something like this, even a question about it, with your sister. You obviously are close, probably the closest people to each other, and it's something that you should have been able to talk about. But that taboo's got to stop. It stops with you. It stops with your sister survivor victims as well. So I appreciate your words and pointing that out and being here together, united. Your voice stops enablers. Knowledge is power, and your voice, your sister's voice, is powerful. And no longer will these practices be allowed, because the two of you have spoken out along with the other survivors. And so these practices, what you've asked for, ma'am, is change, as well as justice. Justice will happen here and in other courts. The change comes from your loud voices and your confidence today. You shouldn't feel disgust, shame, or anger. The anger, I understand, that may not go away, but I'm talking about the anger or disgust or shame against yourself. You two have nothing to feel shameful or guilty about. It is all on defendant. I said this yesterday. I don't know if you were listening. I don't know who's heard what. But ma'am, both of you, if I could order you to be reborn and clean, I would. So ordered, for whatever that's worth, because there is nothing that you did wrong. You didn't have control. It's not wrong to believe our doctors. Our doctors are healers. And so you didn't think that you were going to be abused. It was the farthest thing from your mind. You wanted to be healed. So take the blame, leave it here with him. Enjoy your life with your family and your children. We've heard, this court has heard your strong voices. You are very strong women, and I know together, as biological sisters, you're going to keep getting stronger and helping each other out. There's a whole sea of survivor victims who you're all helping each other, and it's so tremendous. You are survivors, and I thank you both for being here and your strong voices and for continuing to work for change.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to make sure, Judge, before I speak, that I'm seeing it correctly.
All right. Okay, we can turn the cameras back on. She has decided to be publicly identified. And Judge, this is Kristin Thalen. Okay, I'm so sorry. And she wishes to speak with you today. I do not have a photograph, but I think her presence would be enough. So.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am, for being here. I I appreciate that. Could you please state and spell your name for the record?
Kristin Thelen, Kristen
Thank you. What would you like me to know, ma'am?
Thank you for giving us all a chance to speak. I used to look back at my life and wonder where everything had gone wrong. After all, before I was 15, everything had seemed so perfect. I used to wonder what was wrong with me, that I had suddenly become seriously depressed, suddenly started to struggle with the success that had once come so easy to me. I used to look back at my life and wonder where everything had gone wrong. For over a decade, I was in denial that this had happened to me. But today, I know where everything went wrong. I used to blame myself, but I am not to blame. Larry Nassar is to blame for putting his ungloved adult fingers inside me when I was only 15. MSU and USA Gymnastics are to blame for employing and enabling this predator and for turning a blind eye. I am going to explain to the court how Larry's abuse triggered a cascade of horror that almost destroyed me. Laying vulnerable on Larry's table, he touched me in a way my innocent mind couldn't understand, and he did it in a practiced and calculated way, casually talking to my mother, blocking her view and distracting her. In that moment of terror and confusion, I completely froze and dissociated from myself. My memories after that moment go dark and blurry for a long time. It started with the isolation and depression. I then developed an eating disorder based on the belief that something was wrong with me for feeling the way that I did. I was so deathly thin at 16 that people stared and whispered behind their hands. There were years of sleepless nights, staring at a dark ceiling. The pain of depression and the physical toll of the eating disorder ruined my once promising gymnastics career, which had been everything to me. My failure in achieving everything I had wanted to do in gymnastics led me into debilitating anxiety and panic attacks. I believed I could do nothing right. This self-doubt made a normal social life impossible. I then blamed myself for my struggling social life, and I began to self-harm when I was 19. People stared at my scars, and I felt that they could see through me. I felt vulnerable all the time, just as I had felt in that examination room with Larry at MSU. I tried to hide from my pain, and that turned into addiction and crumbling relationships. I could no longer trust anyone. All these feelings led me to believe that my emotional pain was too much for me to bear, and I suffered multiple suicide attempts between the ages of 23 and 25, as well as stays at psychiatric units. My parents and my sister lost sleep countless nights, worrying that I would meet an untimely death. I have lost several jobs due to my deteriorating mental state, and it has taken me over 10 years to finish my bachelor's degree because of mental health issues. I remember reading the Indy Star article and finally, at 27 years old, being overcome with emotion as I realized that he had touched me not for the reasons he claimed at the time, but for his own twisted sexual reasons. Larry Nassar, the doctor parents and coaches in the gymnastics world touted as a god, was actually a demon. The man that I was assured could treat my pain and help me become a successful gymnast, this is the man that had set my life on a course of destruction. It wasn't a decision I made that caused me all this pain. It was a decision that Larry Nassar made. It was a decision that MSU and USA Gymnastics made to create environments for this pedophile to thrive in. To Larry, getting brief moments of sexual pleasure was worth trading the futures of many young, bright, athletically talented girls like myself. Today, we take our futures back, even as his fades into nothingness. Thank you.
That was really powerful. I applaud your final statement the most, that you take your future back, your life back. You're absolutely right. Being here, being strong, you said you had so many disorders, including anxiety, panic attacks, and look where you are. in front of a judge in an unfamiliar courtroom filled with all sorts of people. Most importantly, the person who found you. That is powerful in and of itself. You are very strong. So many of you, you included, have talked about suicide. Please, you are valuable here. That voice that you just gave us all, so very strong, needs to continue. If you quiet it, shut it down, end here early, he wins. And I know you, as a gymnast, you know the difference between winning and losing. Make him lose. You are a winner today. You have always been a winner. You have found your voice. You are healing. He will not be healing. He's going to get weaker and weaker. I know that you have a ways to go. Everybody does, but this is astronomical in pushing your healing forward. This court has heard what you want in sentencing. I take it very seriously. Your voice is very strong. I need you to keep it that way. Keep up the fight. You have sister survivors, and you are a survivor. Push him away out of your mind. You have great things to do in the world. Go out and accomplish those. Congratulations, ma'am.
Thank you.
I want to confirm that our next speaker is anonymous. Is that correct? Oh, okay. She has now decided to be identified publicly. And her name is Katie Rasmussen. Okay, and her father is with her today.
Thank you, ma'am, for being here. Dad, you can stand next door, behind her, however you want. Thank you for being here as well. Please state and spell your name for the record, and then you may proceed.
Katie Rasmussen, K-A-T-I-E-R-A-S-M-U-S-S-E-N.
What would you like me to know?
I met Larry through John Gutter at Twistars. He was my doctor for quite a while. And then when I was 11, I had a hamstring injury. I couldn't stand on my right leg. So, of course, I went back to Larry to see what was going on. And that was the first time that I was touched inappropriately. On the table, on my stomach, clenching the table. He didn't explain anything that was happening to me. There was no gloves, absolutely nothing. I finished that session with no answers. It was just, your leg is not good. So I went back to going to the gym, and it was so bad that anytime I would stand on it, I would immediately collapse. My coaches didn't understand. I was falling on my head. It was a dangerous situation, but of course, I trusted my doctor and I trusted my coaches. But it was the first time in my life, I was 11, the first time I realized that no one cared or no one saw what was happening to me. I knew something was wrong when I was crying before and after seeing him. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I didn't understand. And it wasn't until my dad took me that he didn't do it. So every single time he would do it in the room, and then my dad took me, and then all of a sudden it was MRIs, X-rays, and, partially torn hamstring. And so here I am between 11 and 13, angry that, I'm a gymnast and I want to do well, and I didn't understand for, months and such a long period of time, why nothing was being done. And that was the end of my my career. When I was 14, I was still unsure of what was happening. I wanted to understand. I knew it was wrong, but I began asking even friends of mine who were patients of his. I asked their parents who were in nursing school. I sat there going, I don't understand why he was sticking his fingers in me. I know there's tendons, ligaments. I know that there's things that I don't understand, but I was trying to find something. And she looked at me and she said, "That's really messed up. That's just wrong." And that was that. And, you know, her daughter was another patient of his. I began telling other people, absolutely no one believed me. I was told I was crazy, I was messed up, I was making stuff up, and it was completely mind-blowing to me that why someone wasn't listening to me. I began to hold it in. I began to lie to myself that, maybe there was a reason for this. I don't know.
This person that you told was another doctor?
Well, she was going to nursing school at one point.
Okay, and did nothing.
Did nothing, yeah. No one did anything because no one believed me. They didn't understand how such a respectable doctor would do something like that. And I don't understand how a 14-year-old can make that up. As I got older, 16, 18, I was going through a lot of self-harm, anything and every kind of self-destructive problems that I could get my hands on. I was experiencing. I started seeing counseling, and of course I didn't mention it because no one else had ever believed me. And I knew it was, but I wanted to heal for myself. After that, I started getting better until about last year. Again, with the Indy Star, I was at an airport in Mexico, and the minute I read it, I dropped my phone and cried the entire way home because it had been repressed for a while. I had like the nightmares and everything, and then it's all come back. For the past year, it has been scary, terribly. I live in Vegas by myself, and between nightmares, panic attacks, hospital trips, going back to depression, anxiety. I'm terrified of guys. I go out because I try to push myself. I told myself when I was 16 that I wasn't going to hide behind a rock. I still had to live. I still had to do things. So I constantly push myself. But anytime I go out, I end up sitting in a bathroom for half an hour to an hour trying to control my breathing and to be okay. I'm scared. I'm on medication. I'm scared if I go off of my medication, which I have done, I go back to nightmares, waking up in cold sweats, sleeping for 3 days. And so yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working on getting better. I'm lucky that I have found a career of teaching yoga and pole dancing. That has really helped connect me to other women and people who have experienced the same things. And I try to use that pain and the discomfort that I'm feeling and know that we are all in this together and try to help them out.
Ma'am, thank you so much for coming forward. I know it's difficult. So many survivors have talked about the anxiety, and you certainly have that, but you are poised. You have beautiful words to say, although difficult. I've heard your message in regard to sentencing and what he's done to you. I know that you need to know that he is going to be put away, not by one, not by two, but by 3 judges. You don't have him to fear anymore. I'm hoping that your nightmares will now be filled with the strength and the power that you have in your voice. You need to put him behind you so that he no longer takes your power. You have the power. You are the superhero. It takes an extraordinary amount of strength to be here and talk in front of America. And you've just done that. You are part of a group of super women whose voice are heard, who will make change. And I think the world right now is ready to hear you and make those changes. I think this will push you forward. You feel better?
Yeah, it comes with time.
I have to say that looking at your face, I know, Dad, you're not looking directly at her face like I am, but I do see this sense of relief that's fallen over you just by getting it out.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna come. I wasn't gonna do it, but I had to. I had to do it for myself, but also for everyone else.
And that's an enormous accomplishment, and facing him and saying that is just tremendous. So I believe, based on the other victims and victims who've come before me on other kinds of matters, that doing what you're doing now, so brave, really jumpstarts that healing in ways you haven't imagined. And you have so much to accomplish in your life. You're so brave. I look forward to watching you soar. Congratulations, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge Karen, we approach just for
Yes.
a brief moment and lean over.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I would like to ask Jessica Torrance family to come forward, please. Okay, Your Honor, Jessica is serving in the military. She's a Marine, and she is overseas currently, but she submitted to our office a video impact statement that we are going to play on her behalf.
Hello, my name's Jessica Tanner.
She is authorized to be publicly identified. Her father is here, Brian, right? Brian Tarrant, and her aunt, and I'll let her aunt speak her name again.
Mary Ruth.
And
Mary Ruth?
Mary Ruth?
Yes.
And what is that, your last name? Ruth, your last name?
Plurally is my last name.
Could you spell it?
C-L-E-W-L-E-Y.
Thank you. And sir, could you spell your name?
Brian, B-R-Y-A-N. Last name is Tarrant, T-A-R-R-A-N-T.
Thank you.
And they've been in the courtroom all day. We wanted to make sure we were able to accomplish this today. So thank you, Your Honor, for allowing that. They're going to stand at the podium as her video is displayed. I think we can do it on the screen. We don't have it set up in the Polycom. So
All right, the screen is fine, and this is the third on Exhibit 1.
Yes.
That's already been admitted. And Ms. Hamlin will not be recording once it starts. I'm sorry, reporting. Once the recording starts.
could we use the Polycom system so we would let the folks in the courtroom know that they will be to see us?
Let's go off the record then if any of them want to come in here.
Yes.
That's fine. So, Ms. Jefferson will go tell them they can come in here to watch or film or whatever they're going to do, and let's go off the record so we can have Ms. Hamlin do that.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're back on the record. You may proceed.
Here, it may be helpful if you can spell her name again. I've been asked. Tarrant, first of Jessica, and common spelling.
Thank you.
My name's Jessica Tanner. I'm expected to stand here and say, I hate Larry Nassar. Tell everyone how he betrayed my trust like he did to so many others and assaulted me and treated me. I was just 14. I'm supposed to speak on how hard it's been for me this past year, how many times I've cried myself to sleep, how after being overseas for 2 years and about to leave for 3 more, I spent my leave overwhelmed talking to MSU PD and a lawyer instead of being able to enjoy the time with my loved ones. How even going home to visit them is mentally exhausting because every time I look out the window or drive up our street, I see the green and white house that brings back memories of a man I just want to forgive. Her choosing to be intimate with my boyfriend left me on the verge of a panic attack and in tears more times than I care to admit. Now the ability to do my job has been questioned by a man who doesn't even know me because I'm going through an emotionally trying time. This man proceeded to call me meek and unconfident and shattered the progress I made towards moving on, forcing me to start again. I can tell you how stupid I feel for believing Nassar and not understanding what happened to me, or that I blame myself for all those who abused it after me because I didn't understand, didn't speak up, didn't protect them. How I work a full-time job and I'm a full-time student and continue to fight every day to move on, but I can't because there are still people and organizations that need to be held accountable. Also, the guilty feeling I get knowing USA Gymnastics and Michigan State are not safe places for people. All these things are true, except I don't hate them. At least not anymore. I did for a while and it tore me apart. God said vengeance will be his and I must trust that. Instead, I find myself feeling sorry for him, thinking of all the good he did as a doctor by creating Flip for Autism. I think of his family and I mourn their loss. And the truth is, I can't hate him because when he spoke in court about holding no animosity towards us, I realized he doesn't truly understand what he did is wrong. And that's exactly why I'm asking you to give him the max number of years, ma'am. I know people are going to look at me, look at all of us, and think we're doing this for attention or money. Telling our stories, protesting MSU, speaking to the media. I knew it before I started, and it is what made me hesitate to speak up and allow my name to be public. People don't understand the power they have to silence people with their cruelness. They don't understand the only reason we're here today is because people and the leaders that were supposed to protect us failed. Even after it was reported, no one believed, trusted, fought for us. How do I know this? Because I wouldn't be here today if someone did. I wasn't even alive yet the first time he sexually assaulted someone. And I was only 1 the first time it was reported. Recent reports released made it clear MSU had something to hide. Dr. Douglas, who served as the head of surgery and as a clinic director of MSU Medicine, knew Nassar did some sort of intravaginal procedure, but was vague on the details and didn't really understand it, as it wasn't his area of expertise. Athletic trainers knew Nassar's treatment were intimate and joked with the athletes about it being very personal. Many MSU employees interviewed stated that Nassar was on Facebook all the time communicating with young patients, and at one point, Nassar's Facebook profile was even shut down. Yet MSU says they have no reason to believe Larry Nassar was abusing patients. At 14, I may have been too young to understand the difference between abuse and treatment, but it is unacceptable for medical professionals to claim the same. If it wasn't a cover-up, it was gross negligence, disregard for anything but their golden boy. Still, MSU and USAG remain silent, and I wonder how the higher-ups sleep at night, realizing they have been monsters for years. My best friend and I had a disagreement when this all started. I said they would do what any decent human being would do. Apologize, explain, fire people, and work to make sure it never happened again. I always tried to give people the benefit of the doubt. He has a harsher view on the world, and he was sure they wouldn't. People only care about their reputations, he told me. He was right. They didn't even have the decency to apologize for not trusting the woman who spoke up and not stopping them when they had so many chances. Eventually, I learned we must fight for ourselves, because the only thing these people care about, who is supposed to protect us, is reputation and money. Thank you.
Thank you. I see how hard that is, not just on your daughter, but on both of you. And sir, I noticed that from much of your daughter's statement, you stared at defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
I know how harshly you feel against him. Ma'am, I know you feel the same. I see the anguish on your face. None of you need to feel guilty. except for defendant. You didn't do anything wrong. Your daughter didn't do anything wrong. She's a Marine. Marines are tough as nails.
Yes, ma'am.
Duty, honor, country. That's what speaks to her now. She is strong. They will make her stronger. Her speaking publicly, especially as an officer, or I didn't see her
She's a
rank.
sergeant in the Marine
Sergeant. As a sergeant, she is an example for speaking out. She understands that duty, honor, country means that's what we do. We protect people. That's what she's just done. She sent a message to this court about sentencing. She has sent a message to pedophiles. She has that this will not be tolerated. And she's also sent a message that we need change. I take what she says very seriously. And I want you to convey to her that I think she is wonderful. She is strong. And although I outrank her, I salute her. All right, she really is what we expect in the military, and the Marines are the toughest. So you've got one heck of a kid there. You did something right. You did a lot of things right. Defendant did them all wrong.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I'm really proud of your family and your daughter.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to tell me?
I guess I would just like to say that there's one part of her statement that she went to somebody and they called her meek, and I know her to be the least meek person that I know.
Well, she's a Marine. That's absolute true.
She may come across that way in demeanor sometimes, but she's been a leader in everything she's done. She was the captain on her gymnastics team. She finished second in her class in her MLS school. She was picked early for embassy duty. She's one of the least meek people that I know, and I just want to say, Larry, you did nothing to defeat her. She's what she is because she's a strong and amazing woman. And I hope someday that I have the strength she has to not have animosity and hate towards you, but that day is not today because you tried to break her. I'm with her. I feel for your family as I see them drive down the road every day. I feel for your wife and your kids because you've broken and shattered their lives as much as you've shattered our lives. And I hope someday that my God, the same God that she believes in, will give me the ability to forgive you and to not hold the anger and hate that I thought was gone today as I stood this close to you in the courtroom and realized that it's still there. I don't wish you ill, but I'll be thankful for the day when your face is not on the newspaper anymore and I never have to look at you again. Thank you, Your Honor.
Amen to that. Thank you.
With the court's permission, I believe we may have time for one more.
We have time for one more.
And she has, we would need something to disseminate what she'd like us to see. So would it be okay with you if we keep it up to the Polycom and if books have come back as opposed to moving it back?
Certainly.
Okay.
Is everybody from, I'll have Emily check that everybody from the other courtroom is here, and we'll proceed.
Thank you. Judge, the next speaker is going to be a mother, actually. Dr. Mary Fisher.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Dr. Mary Fisher. She is here speaking on behalf of her two daughters, Catherine, who I know goes by Katie Payne, and Maureen Payne, who are out of state and unable to be here, but Dr. Fisher is going to speak on their behalf.
You want me to play. You want me to put it up, and then I'll do the, when I say time for Katie's video. Hi, Your Honor.
Hi.
So I'm here today representing my two daughters. They both live out of state, as Angela said, and they can't attend. I came here to...
Let me just start here. First, thank you and your daughters for participating in this. And
Thank you.
I
I need you first to state and spell your name and theirs, and then you may proceed. We have a record to protect here, and that's what I'm doing. All right.
My name is Mary Fisher Fulmer, MaryFisherFollmer, and my daughters are Catherine, Katherne, Payne, Payne, and Maureen Payne, MaureenPayne.
Thank you so much. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to start by reading Maureen's statement first, and then I'll conclude with Katie's. So both of my daughters were Metro Detroit gymnasts, and we drove to see Dr. Larry Nassar at Michigan State University Sports Medicine Clinic from 1997 to 1999. Maureen lives in Memphis. This is her statement. She has 2 beautiful children, and she couldn't leave them to be here today. Bridges to Jackson, Jackson back to Bridges, alley-oop and dunk. These are the words that I heard on a Saturday morning as I walked into my living room and saw my son and husband playing mini basketball. They were watching a University of Michigan versus Michigan State University basketball game and were pretending to be 2 young Michigan State players. That's okay.
Judge, we just received a picture this afternoon, so I do apologize for not having it.
That's okay.
Lady, you can show the picture.
Thank you. You may proceed, ma'am.
They looked and saw me softly crying, and my son ran over and said, "Mommy, why are you crying?" I couldn't tell him why. I couldn't explain to him how every time I see the Michigan State logo, I think of Dr. Larry Nassar. I couldn't tell him of the time that I sat on his examination table, and as Dr. Nassar used his fingers to penetrate me repeatedly, had to bite down on my finger to cope with the pain. I couldn't describe to him the stench of sweat on Dr. Nassar's face that I still remember. Instead, my husband just shut off the TV. Today's message has 2 purposes, Your Honor. First, to call out the negligence and lack of accountability on the part of the institution that enabled Dr. Nassar to continually abuse me, my sister, and my fellow gymnasts. I want to call out your university, Dr. Nassar, one that filed a motion last Saturday to dismiss the civil lawsuit filed by the 144 survivors, most of whom have spoken here this week. A university who cares more about their brand than the human lives they impact. An entity that, even with overwhelming evidence thrown in their faces for years, elected to do nothing. An institution that has utterly distanced themselves from your victims and now distanced themselves from you as well. An institution that is, until yesterday, not even represented in this courtroom. This brings me to the second purpose of today. You. You have caused me and my family an immeasurable amount of pain and suffering, but I'm not going to belabor the details since you'll be getting plenty and hearing plenty from other victims. What I will tell you, perhaps it hasn't been said yet, you are going to rot in federal prison, and we will move on, all of us. One by one, we will move past this, take strength and power from it, and march forward without you. As you deteriorate in prison, I want you to remember that you lost. In the beginning of our lives, you tried to rob us of our will, our dignity as women, our ability to trust, our capacity for love, and our strength. And we have since risen to face you and witness you fall at the end of yours. As you eke out the rest of your days in prison, know that you will be left behind in darkness alone. You will be remembered as nothing more than a footnote on the pages of this new chapter in women's history in which we bravely take back our will, our dignity, our trust, our love, and our strength. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
This is Katie's statement. My name is Catherine Payne. My mother, Mary Fisher Fulmer, who is reading this to you right now, has 3 children, a son and 2 daughters. Those 2 daughters, my sister Maureen and I, were sexually molested and raped as children by the person who sits before us today. To the brave women who were able to speak and to those who were not, know that you are not and will never be alone. There are more of us than we will ever know. And in the darkest of your days, when the pain feels inescapable and you feel the loneliness and hopelessness that results from rape, sexual assault, sexual abuse, and abuse of any type, we are all here with you and for you. To those of you who are no longer with us because your suffering was too great, we will forever be here for you, as we know you are forever here for us. We are women and children. We are victims of pain and suffering from rape, sexual molestation, and sexual assault. But we are also survivors. Whether in person or in spirit, we are alive. The following song by Nina Simone is for us. It is for everyone in this courtroom. This is for all victims of abuse, neglect, abandonment, and loss. This is for my mother who is reading this right now. This is for my father, my sister, my brother, my niece and nephew, my family. I love you. Thank you for keeping me alive when my suffering was so great that I didn't want to keep living. This is also for the person who first taught me to speak out, speak up, and not be ashamed. Mark Payne. I miss you every day. We must forever fight tyranny and never give up. Thank you. She wants to share that with everyone, Your Honor.
All right, I'll take a few minutes, I'll talk a few minutes after that. Before we go off the record, this song will not be part of the record. Ms. Hamlin couldn't possibly take it. Well, she probably could, but she's not supposed to. It's a separate record. Is this being marked or not?
You can mark it if you'd like us to. Yes.
It's up to you.
I haven't marked the pictures. I thought of it more as a demonstrative exhibit.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That was a lovely song, especially in this moment. Thank your daughters for me, Katie and Maureen. And first, as to Maureen, defendant will be less than a footnote, but a big lesson we will all have learned about helping those who cry out and who need help and need protection. And both your daughters are part of that. And this song that Katie has sent to us is really a message that he can't take away anything. They've retained their life, their voice. They are strong in body, mind, and soul, and he is weak. They've not lost anything. They've regained it by being here, by having you as a parent, by following through with their good, strong hearts. I hear for sentencing what you and your daughters want. I listened to the voice of their mother as you read it and the passion. So I know that your daughters have a strong mother and role model. They all have a voice in this court.
Thank you.
And I really thank you for speaking out, speaking up, and your daughter's strength shows that there's nothing to be ashamed about. It is the defendant who should be ashamed. They're strong survivors, and like the song says, they have their mouth.
That's right.
They're going to keep talking and making it a better world. I honor them for that, and all of the survivors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
With that, we adjourn for today. We will return tomorrow at 9. I don't know if there's any other victims who will be added, but the list has continued to grow. I suspect very strongly that sentencing won't be until Monday for those of you who want to be here for sentencing, make arrangements, because I don't know how we're going to get, we have about 40 more victims, survivors, and I don't want to leave anybody out or cut anybody short. And if it needs to be Tuesday, it'll be Tuesday. I'm sorry. We need quiet until I'm done. All right, so it'll be Monday. If it needs to be Tuesday, it'll be Tuesday. But we have about 40 more victims. So make arrangements, and hopefully the media, if we do go beyond tomorrow, we'll need a feed for Monday and or Tuesday. Thank you all. Have a good night. That's all for this record. All right.